Hey, good evening, everybody. This is another weird, uh, how can I say it? A weird episode of Because I Feel Like a Podcast. It is Black, Marcus Blackstock, man. I'm going to be here solo with y'all. Um, like I said, it's been a crazy last 48 hours. Um, really just looking at everything that took place with the Micah Parsons trade to Green Bay from the Dallas Cowboys. Um, and I know it seems like I'm not enthused about it, but I am. But there's more to this situation than just the trade. It's more to me to this situation than just the player, just the organizations and the owner on the face value, right? This what took place has more to do. It's more than football, right? And the root, what I mean by that is there, regardless of how you feel about either player, regardless of how you feel about either franchise, there are still at the core of what is going on. There are human beings here, right? There are human beings, and it says a lot too. Regardless, of we know it's a business. NFL is a business. The NBA is a business. The MLB is a business. The NHL is a business. We get that, but still, there's a human element to all of these things, all of those entities. And to tell this story, you have to go back in time. If you are a fan, just a core fan of football, and then obviously a fan of whatever team you root for, to understand this story, you have to go back in time. And I don't want to out predate myself because I know I'm getting older, right? But um, to understand this story, you got to go all the way back to 1991 or 92. Might have been 90, anywhere. So I think when was it? Jerry didn't pay Emmitt Smith on time. This might have been 91, right, or 92. After it was the year after they won the Super Bowl, their first Super Bowl, and what's I think it was 92. Yeah, yeah, 92, 93. But you have to remember that at that time, Emmitt Smith had just came off of his one. He had pretty much led the league in rushing. They won the MVP, or they won the Super Bowl, right? And he was due, as the engine of the team. He was due for his payday. Um, Jerry didn't want to pay him what he was worth, right? But there's a where it was different was at that time. You look at the core of outside. Obviously, Troy didn't give him any issues, right? But also at the same time, Emmett didn't have any off the field issues. Emmett just did his job. He was a great leader. You never saw him get in trouble, right? And he had his head on his shoulders right away. He was all business at the end of the day, right? And I'm saying this as an Eagles fan. You know what I mean? But that's what you notice about Emmett. Emmett had the confidence, the swag, whatever you want to call it, but he did his job and he was never an issue. He just handled his business. But the key thing that stuck out to me about that particular situation was that when Jerry couldn't get him to take what he wanted, Emmett stood up against him, right? And then when they pretty much was trying to force Emmett's hand, Emmett sat out. And then they lost the first two games, and it's all been chronicled, right? And then, they lose the first two games, and then Emmett comes back. Now, if I'm pretty sure most of y'all have watched some of the Cowboys documentary. I ain't gonna hold you. It's good. I mean, it what it does, if you've really been paying attention, just fills in spots you may have not already known, right? But the thing that stuck out to me was, you hear how they talk to go back forward, right? Go back forward to Micah's situation. And one thing that stuck out to me the most is that he couldn't get over on Emmett. But if you look on the other side of things, and the reason why I kind of highlighted that Emmett didn't have any off the field issues or on the field, or he was just a model citizen on and off the field. But then you had the playmaker, right? You had Michael Irvin, who had the issues in the building, out of the building, right? And he knew where, I don't know all of playmakers' background growing up, but there were some issues, right? The drugs, the almost killing, and it ain't really funny, but almost killing the teammate at the team facility in Dallas. But I say that to say this: there was a need. Playmaker needed Jerry to fulfill him, to be that father figure or be that person away from home to cover up for him when he went and got in trouble with the drugs in the hotel room with the strippers or whatever the case may be. So even to this day, you never hear playmaker buck against he never bucks against Jerry, even though we've all seen Jerry not handle players well over these last 30 years, right? Or coaches. You know what I'm saying? You see that. And it takes on, if you really say it, it takes on a predatory air to it. Because he knew that playmaker needed him. He knew he was dependent on him. Because playmaker had gotten to issues out in the town, out in the city, in the building, right? He had issues on and off the field. So when it came for contract time, he knew he couldn't speak up. Was playmaker great on the field? Yes, but I'm pretty sure he was being underpaid. He probably got some money, but it wasn't what he was truly worth, because he knew that Jerry knew where all those bodies and bones were buried in his closet. But there was a dependency there, so he could prey on him because he knew he needed him. You never hear about a contract issue with never a contract issue with Troy, right? There was not one with him. But he had an issue but Troy didn't need him. Emmett didn't need him. But Michael Irvin did. Now you transfer this up to now, right? Let's get to the crux of it. So Jerry wants to do a deal with a 26-year-old Micah Parsons, right? They start talking. They get together in a room alone. And Jerry says, and I may be paraphrasing, hey, let's knock this out, right? Let's get this done. Now, the difference here is that Micah knew what he was worth. And Mike, what Jerry thought he had in the room with him, and I'm just going to say it because it needs to be said, and this is a precautionary tale for a lot of people, not even just in the sports arena, but in life as a whole. He pretty much he pretty much um, tried to take advantage of Micah. He says, "Okay, he, we're going to do this here, but we need to do this without your agent." It made no sense, and Micah saw the play, so Micah said, "Nah, we could talk about whatever you want to, but it's not going to be official until my agent get in there." And that bothered him. That bothered Jerry because it was his goal to take advantage of Micah. Now, yes, are we talking about a substantial amount of money? Yes, we are. Right? Yes, I am. We're talking about that. But in his profession, at his position, and with the production he has accumulated over these last 5 years, 4.5 years, Micah knew his worth. The only person that was in it, stat wise and performance wise, in his realm is Reggie White. Reggie White. So now you take that into account. If you're talking Reggie White production, what would Micah's true worth be? Now we've watched TJ Watt get paid. We have watched Myles Garrett get paid, right? We've watched Danielle Hunter get paid. A couple other folks got paid. Trey Hendrickson just got something for 30 mil for 1 year, right? Those are his contemporaries. And most of them he's younger than. So why wouldn't he be worth more? Right? Why wouldn't he be worth more? Micah knows that. So then Micah was smart enough to say, "Hey, Jerry, yeah, we can talk, but you need to finalize this with my agent, right?" So when you get to that point, Jerry gets mad. Why do you need your agent? It's just me and you. We're together. We need to talk. That's not how it works. Why did you feel that you needed to put this man, this young black man, in a predatory situation to try to get the best deal for you, Jerry Jones? Why? If and I've been watching, all of the interviews he's had. Micah was never going anywhere. He's going to be a Cowboy. I love Micah. I love his family. He's this and he's that and he's all of this. If he's these things, regardless, yes, I know you are negotiating. I know that. But if you truly felt these things and you felt that he meant that much to your team and to you, you would have treated him as such and treated the negotiations as such. But you didn't, because you wanted to take advantage of him. And then when you saw that you couldn't get over on him, you threw a temper tantrum and you got in your feelings and your pride got in the way. Right? And it doesn't make sense. None of the things he said make sense. What makes sense is that if you've watched the documentary, he did put in a lot of work. He did put in a lot of sweat and tears and took a lot of risk to get the Cowboys and then to build them up to what they currently are. But no one is debating that. What folks are bothered about is the fact of how you treat your players, one, or try to negotiate with them, one. Two, what is your end goal? Is your end goal to win? But actually win what? To win more Super Bowls or just to win the headlines? And I think now the evidence is overwhelming to the fact to prove that you don't care about winning games or winning the Super Bowl. You care about winning and putting money in your pocket. And that's great. Yes, that is a part of it. You're an owner. But that's not satisfying fans, and it's not satisfying the team, the players. So again, why did you have to feel the need to try to take advantage of him? Right? Why did you have to feel the need to cut off the talks because you couldn't get what you wanted? You felt as though you needed to win this situation. But in trying to win this situation, you pretty much hurt your team. And yeah, you're pretty sure. I mean, you're like 82 years old. You don't care about you don't care about your reputation. But why, if I'm an agent, would I tell, like, after seeing this, because this was out in the open, why, if I'm an agent, would I want to push my player to go play for the Dallas Cowboys? And that's a real question, right? Why would I want my player? Why would it be in my player's best interest to sit there and go play for the Dallas Cowboys? I don't see any reason why I would want my player to go do that. None. For one, it's not best for his career. One, it's not best for him personally, because it's a circus there. You know what I'm saying? Like, other players have came out and said that it's a circus there in at Valley Ranch or whatever you call it. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would I want my player to come play with you? Why? So he could be subjected to a lot of BS that really shouldn't be in the air. My guy is there to play football. My guy is there to be a part of a team. My guy is there to win. Not win headlines, win football games. Because that's the assignment for them. That's the assignment for the players. That's the assignment for the coaches. And in reality, it should be assignment for the GM and the owner, but the two are married together, and then the GM and the owner have issues. They're the same person. They have ego issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way that I'm going to sit there, right? And you don't need to know a whole lot about football. You don't need to know a whole lot about football to understand that Micah Parsons is a top 5 defensive player in the NFL. You don't have to be able to count a whole lot to understand that he's only 26 years old. So when Jerry figured he couldn't get his way, and this is where I never want to talk about your elders like that, but sometimes you gotta call it the way it is. You traded a top 5 defensive player at the age of 26 years old on a pretty much like I said, a Reggie White trajectory, probably to the Hall of Fame, for a 30-year-old defensive tackle who had not a horrible year, but he had a bad year last year, and you got 2 first-round picks. Now, in saying that, That don't even make sense. It don't, and you got to strip it down for what it is. You have to. You have to. Kenny Clark, Michael Parsons, Kenny Clark. And he's 30. So basically you took a 30, and you aren't gonna re-sign him either. So then, okay, let's say you're banking on those 2 first-round draft picks, right? The Packers smoked you the last time you were in the playoffs. And that was without Micah. With what was Jordan Love in his first year? Or it might have been his first year as a full-time starter, or second time. Or it might have been either his first or second year. Either way, with a pretty much rookie wide receiver crew and Aaron Jones, and they cooked you. They put up 48 points, or 47. I'll take that. 47. I think it might have been. It might have been 48. Either one way, they still cooked them. But the biggest thing that the wildest thing that came out of Jerry's mouth was, well, Micah wasn't stopping the run. And anybody with common sense would say that's a lie. That wasn't the reason why Micah wasn't the reason why you couldn't stop the run. He wasn't, right? He wasn't the reason you couldn't stop the run. You drafted Mozzie Smith, what in 2023, right? What exactly has he done for you? And he was a draft pick in the first round, the back end, like 28, something like that, 26, 27, something like that. But you drafted him, and you've gotten nothing out of him, right? Maybe, just maybe, you can draft better on your line. Maybe if you didn't wait to the actual end of folks' deals to re-up them again, you wouldn't be in the financial situation you are with contracts. You waited to pay that. You waited to pay CD. How did that work out for you? Yeah, they're paid, but you haven't gotten anything. You know what I'm saying? So now you thought, okay, we got Micah. Micah is going to do what Micah needs me. Because that's the thing about Jerry. Jerry wants these players to need him. He wants these players to adore him. But understand, these are people at the end of the day. And they don't need your adoration. They just need you to pay them what they're worth. At the end of the day, they have a whole family of their own, right? So you thought that it was okay to try to get over on him, and when you couldn't, you all of a sudden decided that it was you didn't need him, and then you were going to badmouth him on the back end going out. And then somebody, I read it, it might have been, what was it? I forgot his name, but I know his last name is Patrick. But one of the Cowboys beat writers got out there, and then it was kind of weird. He started off praising Micah. Micah was a great player. Micah did this, and he was good to his teammates, right? But then you go backwards, and then you say, well, Micah was wearing on people in the locker room. If you do a survey with his teammates, you would see that some of them really didn't care if he was gone. Yeah, right, bro. I know this is a PR spin because understand that Jerry runs everything down there, Dallas Cowboys wise, in that city. If you talk sideways out your neck and you're a beat writer out there, he will banish you. You know what I'm saying? He will get you wiped out if you decide that you want to talk against Jerry Jones down there. So it didn't surprise me that some of them tried to start to talk shit on Micah out on the way out. But there's one thing you can't explain. You can't explain this away. Jerry specifically said, like I said, he said we had a problem. You had a problem stopping the run. What are you talking about? Micah wasn't the reason you couldn't stop the run. You drafted Mozzie Smith and he couldn't play, right? Who else did you have on that line? You let DeMarcus go, right? You didn't have anyone else there. So what was the problem? So he was supposed to stop everything by himself, right? What type, if you really want to be real about it, if you really want to be serious about it, think about it. What linebackers did you have? The heaviest one you had back there was what, 215? He might have been 205. But he was a safety masquerading as a linebacker. But again, you're blaming it on Micah, right? I'm trying to figure out how do I say this, man. I'm trying to figure out how to characterize this situation, right? Because nothing that nothing that Jerry is saying makes any sense, dude. Nothing that Jerry says make any sense, right? He said he was thinking about trading Micah a while ago. Bro, I get it. Right? You're 80 plus years old, right? You're 80 plus years old. If you really wanted to, if it was really about thinking about trading Micah a long time ago, the draft was in April, right? And you knew you had to pay him all of last year and going into the spring, right? Why did you not trade him? If you were so, I was thinking about it, why didn't you not trade him during the draft or before the draft? When you could have got more than what you got from Green Bay. That could have helped you this year, and depending on the picks you got, would have helped you next year. And you would have had more money to address the running defense that you said you didn't have. That tells me you lied. You lied to your people. You lied to your fans. You lying to me. I'm an Eagles fan. We already know you're full of shit. But you lied to your own fan base. I don't know if you couldn't remember what it was that you I don't know if you just forgot that you was mad at Micah, because that didn't even make any sense. None whatsoever. So you're saying that, well, we was thinking about trading him. You had that time to trade him, right? And then even after the draft, you had May, June, July, and before the preseason games started to do so. You had time. What you thought, I'm telling you, what he thought he was going to be able to do was get over on Michael Parsons. And when he saw that he could not do it, and then he couldn't get over on the agent, that's where Jerry got in his feelings. And because Jerry got in his feelings, he lost a top 5 defensive player in the league. A eventual Hall of Famer, because he's going to the Hall of Fame. I think he is, no doubt. You hurt your team in April. You hurt your team now. And he hurt his team for the next 5 years alone. Because understand, Micah is in the division. I'm sorry, not the division. Micah is in the conference. So you have to see him at some point in time. And then, matter of fact, you're going to see him in what 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month. Everything that this man has touched, everything this man has done this offseason has been bad. Everything he's done. There's no reason why Micah's, even though, it's funny on the Eagles side of me, but Micah should be a paid Dallas Cowboy. But because privilege and ego got into Jerry Jones' head, this is what took place. Right? This is what took place. Man, Micah's 26 years old. And for at least the next 5 years, he's going to be at the peak of his abilities. And you have to watch him get better while your team has not gotten any better. Right? They haven't gotten any better. If anything, they're worse now. You think that Kenny Clark going to help you stop the run? If that was the case, it just makes no sense. You wouldn't got Eberflus from Chicago. The coordinator is supposed to help that, but you took the best player on your team away. How do you think that is going to help you stop the run? Why are you trying to sell that to your fan base? You think they're stupid? No, these folks, and I hate to even be in a position where I'm even defending that Cowboys fan, because at this point, I don't really even have conversations with them because I don't see a point to it. Because they're not going to fill me with hot air like Jerry does to them. Because we know it's all lies. They're going to tell you about the 33-8 or Dak's record. Well, okay, what does that got me? Nothing. He's 33-8 in the division, but Hurts has a Super Bowl. Jaden Daniels has already been to the NFC Championship game in those 10 years that Dak's been the quarterback. But that's not from right now. This is specifically about Micah and Jerry. Man, look, I'm proud, and I'm gonna say this. I'm proud of Micah for taking up for himself and doing the right thing and showing others that this can be done. Because Jerry has been doing a lot of BS for a while. Man. There's just nobody really, other than Emmett. Nobody really had the leverage to do so. Obviously the quarterback, he knows he needed Dak. He knows he needed Troy. He knows he needed Romo, right? He know he needed them. Emmett as well. I don't think I remember said Emmett's name. I might have. But it's crazy to see, man, that Micah did have the leverage in this way. And he thought that he had a dummy that he can get along and try to get him for what he wanted to get him for. And then when he couldn't get him to do what he wanted to, he comes back and says, well, you're going to play on the 5th year. Why would he do that? Why? Do you think you thought he was just going to do that? And then when he didn't, and he went out to go get his back checked out, you got mad. And there's a part that you don't really like to touch on, but sometimes like there's a mortality to things, right? And as you get older, you learn that there's a mortality. thought process that comes in, right? I don't see how, and I'm gonna just tell the Cowboys fans, I don't see how this gets any better. Or I don't, yeah, man, put it this way. I don't see how it gets any better with Jerry Jones being in charge of the Dallas Cowboys. And no one's going to tell him to step down. His kids aren't because they just like him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to get any better. I think most of you, not everybody, right? But I sent this to one of my friends, man. Jerry, to get out of this hole, there's one door to this thing. There's one way in, one way out. The only way that this even changes in any the possibility or the hope of any change, because Jerry is not going to succeed, or he's not going to cede management to anyone while he's still here. It's not going to happen. He's not going to let anyone else outside of his kids do anything with the team GM wise, and you're stuck with him. And it's just that's just the reality of it. He said it. Why would I give this up when I don't think anyone else could do this better than me? Right? Brother. Yeah, I shouldn't say brother, but it's been over 10,600 days since the Cowboys have played in the Super Bowl. It's been a little bit more than that, maybe about 10,615 or 620 or something like that, since the Cowboys have played in the conference championship game. So for 30 years, someone has been clearly doing their job as a GM and owner better than you. And I'm talking about football. I'm not talking about generating money. I'm talking about the product on the field. You have not done well for 30 years. That is a fact. Right? That is a fact. You have not done well for 30 years, dude. And this team is not going to get any better with you in charge of it, handling the football side of things. You are all about yourself. You are selfish. You know what I'm saying? You don't care. You say you care about the players, but you really don't. You care about the bottom line, which is lining your pocket. You know you got diehards is going to fill the seats regardless. They'll cry. Oh, this is over. Like right now, you know, folks is hurt over Micah, but they'll be there. They'll be there in the building in Philly or Dallas, whatever the case may be. Suckers, but because they love your team, and you know they're not going to go anywhere. But you're not good for the Dallas Cowboys anymore as in football management, man. You're not. It's sad to see it, because I got friends, I have family that are Cowboys fans, and even now, there's nothing they can say, nothing positive about the Dallas Cowboys, right? Nothing. And then if you go down the line, man, like just the whole thought of it, dude, just the whole thought of it, like you get to a point. Now there's generations now, right? Because I think generations go in 10 to 15 years, right? Every 10 to 15 years. So really there's 3 generations of folks, of kids, girls and boys and girls that have grown up and don't know anything, have not seen the Cowboys win anything. Only reason they are in the news is because the big stations keep putting y'all up there. But as far as football relevancy, I'm sorry, I said relevancy. Y'all has been bad for years. You know what I'm saying? Like, how relevant are y'all to in football right now? The the product that is being put on the field. We're not talking about popularity. Great, America's team. Who cares? No one cares because that's not winning championships. It's no one cares about 95, 94. No one cares about the 70s, bro. It's 2025 and y'all aren't it. There is going to be a group of kids that are growing up that don't even know about Emmett, don't know about Tony Dorsett or Dwayne Hill or Staubach or none of these folks or Troy. Now to get to the point now, Troy, Emmett, Mike, Haley, there are groups of kids that don't know nothing about that. And why would they? If I'm a parent, why would I sell them on being a Cowboys fan? They ain't seen them win anything. Much less be a competent product on the field. I don't understand, bro. I don't. I don't understand it. I don't know. You are so far gone that at this point you think because of what you've done 30 years ago, that gives you the cachet to say we're just gonna cash in the chips. I don't care about the product on the field. As long as these goofies is lining my pockets. But it's hurting it, man. I don't know how anybody could support it. I don't. You don't really care about your players. You don't really care about the fans. Because if you did, you'd be trying to put a better product out there. If you cared about the player, you would have kept Micah. If you was really about winning and you really cared about what the fans thought, you would have signed him. But you didn't. And you know you got the money. You just chose not to. And you could have done better even signing the ones before him. Man, I could not be a Cowboys fan. It looks when I say it looks bleak, it looks depressing, dude. It does. Being a Cowboys fan looks so depressing. And they not even joking anymore, dude. Because there's nothing they can say. Nothing they can say to anybody. Not an Eagles fan, not a Seahawks fan, not even a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, even a Detroit Lions fan, even fans that ain't got no Super Bowls. They can't say nothing to them because of how down bad they are as an organization. And it's all because Jerry Jones gotten into his feelings because he couldn't get over on a young black man who had representation and decided that he wanted his agent to take care of the situation. That's what this is about. Man, you know, and I know my guy, he told me, he said this looks like when, he said this looks like when, you have a pop, right? It was for Dallas fans, you got a pop and your pop leave your house, right? You grew up with him, right? Your pop leave your house and then Pop decides to leave. But not only does Pop leave, and it correlates like this, Pop leaves, but he goes around the corner and he starts a whole family. And you got to watch your Pop love that family, take care of those kids, the other lady's kids. You know what I'm saying? And ain't nothing you could do about it as a child. You got to watch him take care of these other kids. And he just is happy over there and had loving life. That's the same. It's literally the same thing. Micah's going to be over there with the Packers, loving life with a better structured football team with people that actually care, or with ownership that actually cares about the players, with a group of players that actually work hard and care about winning. because winning is what matters to these guys, because that's what in turn puts money in their pockets. That's exactly what happened. Jerry Jones, man, you are horrible, bro. Go Birds, right? Cowboys fans, I don't feel sorry for you because you knew this was here. But you do have options. You don't have to stay a Cowboys fan forever. You don't have to support. You have options. So I will say that I'm proud that Micah got paid. I don't really care about the Packers. I think the Eagles can beat them regardless anyway. But this is a cautionary tale to anybody. Don't let anybody get over on you. You know what I'm saying? Do what's best for you. And this isn't any profession. Don't let nobody get over on you. Because when you're going, right, you see how they treat you on the way out. You see how Micah and Jerry treating him on the way out, right? Do what you got to do. Micah did what he had to do. Because to David Mulligetta, he did what he had to do for him as well. But I just wanted to talk about Micah with y'all, man. My guys, and I'll be back on with my guys probably next week. Probably gonna have this weekend. You know what I'm saying? It's Labor Day weekend, so everybody gonna be chilling or whatever the case may be. But we're gonna get back on it next week, man. Probably do something Wednesday because Thursday night game starts. Normally be watching the Eagles. You know what I'm saying? The Super Bowl champions. Unveil their banner. The second Super Bowl winning in the last 7 years. I'm proud of that. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get more. Hopefully, I'm not greedy. You know what I mean? But I'm happy where I'm at. But I can see one or two more. I'm cool with that. But man, yeah, y'all can like and subscribe to the YouTube channel because I feel like a podcast. Follow us on Twitter because I feel like a podcast is there on X or whatever the case may be. You can follow it on IG as well because I feel like a podcast. Same thing on Facebook. You know what I mean? I got my guy Swerve, man. I got AO. I got Artie. You know what I'm saying? I got Nelson. He out there working somewhere. You never know where you might pop up. But you know what I mean? Hit us up, man. We are here. We're gonna be here for a while. And man, you know what I'm saying? You can hit me on Instagram, not Instagram, but I'm on Blue Sky, Imagine Life 2 as well. I'm everywhere, man. You know what I'm saying? So y'all have a good evening. Oh, one more thing. I wanted to share thoughts and prayers out to those kids out of the Ascension Middle Christian school out there in Minnesota. The staff, the kids, the parents, the community there. It wasn't needed. I hope everyone is healing. That someone can, these folks can find strength somewhere in this darkness, to feel better. But yeah, man. Y'all have a good weekend. Stay safe out there. You know what I'm saying? And have meaningful conversations with your people. All right, man. Y'all have a good evening. Later.